Mate, what is with all these NRL fantasy podcasts? They all sound the fucking same. Welcome to the Echo Chamber.
Good evening and welcome to Wednesday night podcast with the Echo Chamber. I'm host this evening. My name's Bryce. Joining us tonight after a failed recording yesterday is Jay-Z. How you going, mate?
Fantastic, mate. You know how much I love chatting fantasy? We did it by not recording our podcast yesterday, so shout out to Scoop for that one.
Yeah, Scoop had a fucking mare and decided he wasn't going to record his desktop fucking volume, and we just had an hour 30 of Scoop talking 15 seconds and silence. So, failed TLT podcast, but we'll get through it tonight. Also joining us today is Rudes, backing up from Monday. How you doing, mate?
Good, man. I must say I'm pretty happy that the fantasy gods intervened yesterday and stopped Eddie from, saying anything in retort to my good half hour bullying him from Monday.
Yeah, just no comebacks, but I'm pretty sure Eddie's saving that up for next week, mate, when he gets on the pod. Trades for this week, fellas. I am doing 2. I'm removing Mr. Kiraz from my team after he got injured. I reckon he probably would have been close to going to Origin anyway. And I'm bringing in James Tedesco. And then poor Egan doing his knee. I'm going to bring in Mr. Fanua Blake just to bring in for a season keeper. Both, I hope I know to have to trade out again. What are you doing, JZ?
At the moment, I have Egan to Liam Henry and Hubner to Ruben Garrick are my 2 trades.
You're bringing in Garrick after literally talking shit about him all year, mate.
Oh, I hate the bloke. I'm not going to enjoy owning him, but I feel the downside of not owning him over the next couple of weeks is far greater than the downside of owning him. Because even if he gets a head knock, like he's a commonly enough owned player that it won't be too impactful. And if you look at his fixtures, they're like he's basically playing a bunch of New South Wales Cup sides.
That's fair, mate.
Yeah, so he seems like a no-brainer.
100% fair. Rudes, what are you doing this week, mate?
So far, I've got 2 trades locked in, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with my third. So at the moment, I've got Egan locked into Zach Docker Clay, much to the disgust of everyone else in the Echo Chamber.
Yeah, I think it's a bad call.
I think I've got Karaz locked into Tedesco.
Yep.
And I'm trying to consider what I'm going to do with White, whether it be keep him, whether it be trade to ICAT or to Farnworth or to trade to someone else entirely.
Yep.
I'm just not too sure whether White really is a hold for the weeks he's out injured, given that benefit he has in the back end of the Origin period, but I'm sure something we'll discuss.
He's got to come back and actually do something. So, yeah, we will talk about whether White is a hold or a sell. We'll get stuck straight into it. Bulldogs, Dolphins, first game on Thursday night of the round. Any buys or sells in this? ICAT, obviously a buy if you do not have a half whatsoever. If you are upgrading to play someone over Sav, not so sure. Jay-Z, you're pretty strongly opinioned on this one, mate.
Yeah, so to me, I feel that it's great to have as strong a 13 as possible in this round, but if that's at the price of having more than 13 players, I don't think it's really necessary. If you don't have a half for 15, maybe I can see it, but you need to be conscious when you're making trades like Katoa that we need to bring in guys like Preston and Campbell back into our sides very soon. And unless we're sort of flipping guys like Yo or Cleary, which I don't have Yo and I'm planning on holding Cleary, it's a lot of money to invest in someone that plays only the first 2 bye rounds. And when we already have a half that basically everyone is going to play in Savala, yes, he had a bad score last week, but that seems to be his floor, and it was still almost 30 points, which come the back end of the season when everyone's out of trades and you think about your bringing in Katoa when you already had Savala playing, you're going to be thinking, well, that extra maybe 30 to 40 points, probably not worth the trade I spent on it.
Yeah, Rude, you got an opinion on this, mate? What do you like? I know you're thinking about it, and last week we did speak about whether upgrading Saval was actually a decent option, and you were on the fence of no. So I'm a bit interested why you're thinking bringing ICAT in, mate.
I'm still a bit flipping forth and back and forth on this, and I'm just hearing Jay Z and what he said there. Like that is a strong point, and I am starting to think about like, as much as I like ICAT this week, I am curious to know about if his scoring will stay up as high as it has, and if he's going to be a long term keeper that stays in my side. And like, given I've only have 4 interchange bench, and I already have Cleary and Fogarty who'll be taking my half spots as it comes to the back end of the year, is Katoa going to take an interchange spots off some of these gun middles I plan on holding, like Yo, Haas, Terrell May? I don't know. I think he's going to be a good scorer. Issue is he doesn't play. Wait, does he play that round 15 by or that round 18 by?
He plays 15, he
15.
doesn't play 18.
Yeah.
I think that might favour me bringing him in just because the round 15 buy is pretty bad for halves.
Yeah, so
With Fogarty out. So I'm currently looking at playing Savala and LKT, and I sure as fuck don't want to be putting LKT in a starting spot.
So whether you're actually still got Savala in your team come round 15 with Walker coming back very soon is another huge consideration I think you should probably have. And LKT should never be anywhere near anyone starting 13, in my opinion.
Mm.
So
I agree with that. Let me just say, though, that we have the dual positions of Fletcher Sharp and Jaden Campbell, ideally speaking, when it comes to round 15, that you can plug into the halves. I don't expect Savala to still be there, but Newcastle and the Titans play that 15 bye.
yeah, JC doesn't play 18 though. So if you're going to bring JC in to play that 15, you're going to have to really think about something for 18.
Yeah, that will time up nicely with either like a cash out of Wishart or like a cut price Jerome Hughes. So not too concerned about round 18.
I'm just going back to round 15, saying you can play Sharp in the halves. I think that's a little bit deceiving at the moment, just because there's such a shortage of wing fullbacks. I think a lot of teams are going to be stuck and forced to play Sharp in wing fullback and not going to have that luxury.
We are getting.
Whereas to bring JC in, I'm still not convinced bringing JC in the immediate future is the play with that round 18 issue that he has that he doesn't play.
I just want to put a pin in this because I just want to get through buy holds and trades, and then I really want to get into buy planning. So I think we just put a pin in this conversation about who our wing fullbacks are going to be in the later rounds and whether we bring in Jay-Z and Kiraz and that sort of players back. I think the consensus is with Katoa, if you don't have somebody for this week in round 15, he's a buy, obviously. He's going to be the best player that plays them 2 rounds in the halves. If you've got Fogarty already, you probably just want to try and pair him with a Sav or, at the very stretch, LKT.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that his last few games, he's had, I think, 6 turnovers in his last 3 games. And he had 0 before that. So,
but he also
he still has monster base stats. Like, not debating that. He certainly has had a bit of an uptick in random stats that he's not going to have every week.
Yeah, but he had no try involvements. But no try involvements. So, like,
just fine.
Yeah, so like you're going to expect some sort of try involvements from a 7. It's been really weird. He's had none in the last 2 weeks.
I'd counter that with the Dolphins are just losing players every week, like no Gilbert, no Plath, no JMK. So you probably don't expect them to like win a lot of games. While he obviously has the base stats of his kick meters, and he's developed a really nice running game lately as well. I don't know whether he can keep that up over the whole season.
And his tackles are huge. So his base has definitely inflated over the last couple of weeks. He's not cheap. If you've got a Fogarty, my recommendation is to not buy an ICAT. Because they're pretty much very similar, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the other half that is a bit of interest, which is, while we're talking about halves, is Burton?
Yeah, real quick, I don't think you should buy Burton this week. That's just me. I think you wait a couple of weeks to buy Burton and see if you can't do something like an LKT to a Burton at some point in the future.
I don't mind him. He's not getting away from you, and he's at a price where he's basically guaranteed to be about 100k, maybe even more undervalued. This is another thing that I like to think about as well is, do you really want to buy Katoa at 760k? Yes, he's scoring like someone that should be priced at 760k, but this is new territory for him. He's never done it before. Can he maintain that over the whole season? Whereas you can get Burton for 200k cheaper, and come round 27, when we compare their averages, I don't think they're going to be 20 points apart like they are at the moment. I think it's going to be more like maybe 4 or 5 at most. So I don't hate the idea, if you need a half this week, of buying Burton. 549k is probably the cheapest he'll ever be.
That is true. My plan is to sort of wait till that 14-15 though, and just see if he gets another couple of good scores.
I'm actually kind of with you there. I really like Burton being back, and especially the big thing is that Burton's now confirmed got the goal kicking back after round 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really big plus that a lot of us were getting a bit concerned about. I really don't mind the Burton play. It's a bit riskier, but I think it's also with that risk, at least you're saving $200.
Yeah, I guess if you need a half, right, then sure. You're definitely not buying Burton to upgrade Sav. I think that's a silly move.
Correct, but he also plays all 3 buys, so he doesn't have the downside of a Katoa or Campbell that you might need to rely on.
Yeah. Campbell, Fogarty, all them players. So, I guess we move on to the next game. Eels.
Just one more buy I really want to talk about this. I think it's quite close to my heart. Blake Taff is back into the starting side.
Eels.
The living god himself.
Eels and Manly. Right, we want to do this.
Hang on, Brycey. Before you do that, there is another buy that's two really that are worth considering. So, an interesting, if not somewhat risky, cash out. Lipoi Hopoi is starting in the front row. He played a really good game last week against the Roosters, and I think I don't know if he'll start come game day, but I think he's earned a spot in the team at least over the bye period while Max King's out. If you need someone that could maybe post sort of 20 to 30 points every buy round and don't want to overinvest, he's an option. I was saying to Eddie and Scoop yesterday that there's just a real lack of cash outs at the moment. There's almost no one to cash down to. So we need to find that at some point, and whether that's someone like Lipoi Hopoi, or if there's sort of an opening in the Melbourne halves, maybe like a Tyron Wishart, not for this week obviously, but you could do far worse than someone like Hopoi.
Okay, so with Hopoi, the big asterisk on that is Daniel Suluka Fafita, who has been getting that 20-minute role, only got a HIA. He will be back. So Sam Hughes has also come back from injury and is now on the bench. So it's 2 players that haven't been in the team that will be coming back.
Yeah, I wouldn't be touching any of this forward back from the Dogs.
But if you need
so many suspensions, so many injuries, people are coming back eventually.
You do need a cash down at some point, though. And getting his name this week in the team, I can't see anybody in the reserves, the extended bench, that's going to come and take his spot. So if you just need a 1 week sort of deal, and then he's probably going to be really shit for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, that's the real risk there is that Suluka Fafita is only a 1 week HIA, and now Sam Hughes is back. So
I'm not convinced Suluka Fafita comes back into the team even when he's fit. Like, he hasn't been great for them, and he was kind of just warming the spot for Sam Hughes. And I think Sam Hughes and Fafita they've played the same role in the team, even though they're both middle forwards. I think their role is to start the game and sort of absorb the early collisions. And if one's in the team, I doubt the other will be.
Yeah, okay. We'll see. There's huge risk there for me. But if you need a cash out, there's one for you. The other one... Are you talking about Lem?
Sorry. No, I'm talking about Reid Marnie. He is a genuine option for... He's not quite as strong a scorer as Burton traditionally is, but for all the same reasons, Burton is a buy, plus the addition of Hooker being a complete shit show this season. Yep. I have no Hooker for 15-18, and he makes the most sense. I don't need him this week because I got Riley and Aaron Clark if need be, but if you don't have a 9, like if you've missed Jazz and Clark and Riley, or you don't want to buy a middle, then I couldn't knock you for Reid. 3 straight 40-plus scores in 80 minutes. You could do far worse.
Just block out his missed tackle stat, and then you're fine buying Reid. Just like ignore that stat exists, and speed bump Reid as your man. Jake Turpin on the bench is a bit scary though.
he'll play middle. I don't think he'll play hooker.
Yeah, well, yeah, hopefully. You're hoping. I do just want to mention Lem, though, because he is someone I am watching. I like Lemelo when he plays on the edge, and now that Gilbert's gone for an extended period, just want to see how that plays out. I'm not buying him this week. I don't need an edge, but he is someone I'm keeping my eye on down the track, and it's someone I think we need to watch out for because he can score really well.
Yeah, he'd be more appealing if he had dual position, I think.
100% he would be. 100% he would be. Eels, Manly.
Oh, just quickly, who do you think wins that game?
I don't care.
Dogs.
Dogs, yeah, sure. Dogs.
I think they'll still have too much for him.
Let's go with the Dogs.
Back in the Finns.
Yeah, Eels, Manly. Another game we don't really care about who wins. Iongi, hold, obviously. Katoa, probably... Katonga. He's probably going to be the last week he spends in my team this week. I think his usefulness is done. It depends on the score he pumps out without Moses. If he kills his price riders, then he's probably going to make his way out of my team very quickly. Anybody else you guys want to talk about in this team? Riley Smith is not a buy, but well done.
Not really. I think they're all holds, and no one's a buy in this team. Like if you have Riley or Iongi, you're holding them.
Apart from Ruben Garrick. No, not Hopgood.
Yeah. No, Manly have a few interesting options actually. Yeah. Jazz at lock, Turbo for the brave people, and someone else. Hamole is even an option as well if you're down an edge, which most of us are after Egan went down and Toya's out. If you have Toya and we're planning on playing Lucas, you can move him down to center and buy someone like Hamole. I don't hate it. He's probably a bit too close to the Origin team though.
The problem I've got with Manly players is that they share a buy with who do they share a buy with? That fucks me.
Canberra and South,
the Raiders. So because I've got so many Raiders players in my team, I don't want to load up on Manly players.
Yeah, which is fair enough. I only have one Manly player now that I bought Garrick this week.
Yeah.
There'd be some temptation to buy Turbo, even though he's scoring horrifically and doesn't look right. They have really, really good fixtures for the next sort of 5 to 6 weeks, and they play all 3 majors. So
yeah, my issue is there's now no neck, and they've got Jake Arthur at 7. So either Tom's going to have to do everything, or they're just going to get destroyed by the Eels this week. That's how I look at this game.
I just really want to cut in and you mentioned Jazz, and I know if people are looking at Jazz, he is absolutely not a buy this week.
Oh.
He is absolutely not a buy. He's a trap if you're buying him this week. Aloye and Sipley are both back next week. If Gerbo's back, which I think a couple of us are expecting him to be based on the standard protocols, Jazz will come out of that lock and go back to being the short minute hooker stint. You're kind of betting on Gerbo staying out with that head injury.
Yeah.
Which even if he does, that's only for 2 weeks. You're not going to make enough money to justify it, and you're trying to buy him for multiple 2 of those major buy rounds. So you're then relying on Gerbo somehow finding his way into the Blues team for round 15. Jazz Savanga is an absolute trap.
You're buying Jazz for this week, and this week pretty much it.
Yeah, that's just not worth it for 1 round at all.
And then
you haven't.
Yeah, I don't know. Lachlan Croker back is what scares me more than anything else, mate.
I'll say it's very risky, but I don't think it's absolutely not a buy. Like I think there is potential for him to keep the lock spot. Like every time he plays there, Manly look like a better side. And I think Croker back's actually better for him because if he stays in the team, then he's not going to spend any time at hooker. Yeah, he'll just be pure middle.
He's got to play that mid role. That's a decent point. So my plan for 15 and 16, I said 15, 18, I said I don't really want to talk about buy planning. We'll do it later. But it's just to wait till round 15 and just hope something pops up. Like, I'm even looking at what are the Cowboys going to do round 15, 18. They buy on both of them. We get to see whether they bring in Lawton or bring in, downgrade. So then we get a downgrade plus someone who plays big minutes in 2 rounds. So that's sort of what I'm banking on, round 15, 18. The only reason that I think you buy Jazz this week is if you don't have a hooker and you just want to cover 15 and 18 with a score.
Yeah, I think a thing to add, and again, this is sort of getting into buy territory, is that it's really tough to field mids for at least 15, and 18 isn't as tricky considering Laurie Daly has sent a hit out on Terrell May. But yeah, it's still tricky enough that it's worth sort of looking at Jazz to fill those kind of roles. I'm not buying him myself. I wouldn't recommend anyone to buy him, but there are worse trades than Jazz Tavanga.
I think he's still up there as a really bad buy, personally. But I think it's
noted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very well worn by Ridley on that one. I don't think there's anybody else. We'll move on to the next game. Panthers, Knights. Big game for both teams, realistically. Both teams within a shout of winning this with how many players are gone from the Panthers, and then the Knights really just need to get a performance together. If
the Knights can't beat this B-grade team, the Knights need to leave the comp.
Yeah, so that's what I was about to say, is Panthers have lost their guns, so now they are just playing basements everywhere across the field. So let's just see what happens. You've got a huge buy in this. I'm going to let you take it away, because I want you to sell me this player now, JZ.
Well, I wouldn't say he's a huge buy, but he certainly fits my plans, and there is a ton of upside in Liam Henry. He's got that dual position. When he gets the minutes, he is basically like one of the best sort of PPM players in the entire competition. I remember when I was sussing out Iongi stats earlier in the year and looking at old Penrith games in reserve grade. You know the category that says like top scorer for the game? That was Liam Henry every single game, and it was like 70 plus without fail. The guy is an absolute weapon. Last time he played second row last year in this exact fixture, he had 71 tackles and scored 73 points. The guy is an absolute workhorse. He is somewhat fortunate with Garner and Papali'i being out this week, but there's a real chance that he is a real solid scorer over the next couple of weeks, particularly this round and round 16 when the Origin players aren't in the team. And he's real cheap and he's got dual position. So there's a chance he also makes like 100 to 150k over this period, like he did last year over Origin. He had a bunch of really, really good scores over that period. And Penrith rely on guys like him to sort of fill the gaps and play the minutes that guys that you expect, like your Martins and your Yos, to play over the time. So I expect a much bigger role for him in the team over the entire Origin period. And he's a big point of difference as well. He's owned by 0.7% of players. If he comes out and he has a monster game this week, like I expect him to, you might be one of the only teams that own him. So it's needs to suit your team. Like if you can't cover the position, or you have other guys that you need to get rid of and he doesn't fit your plans, then don't do it. But for my team specifically, I could really use his score this week and also in that round 16.
So Liam Henry, between when he came into the team to play this like round 12 last year, and when he sort of lost his position in round 20, which is your Origin period, he made 230k in that time period.
There you go. He is a jet.
He
just needs the role.
He did it last year. Now my thing is he does not play 2 of the major buy rounds, and 15 particularly. We just spoke about it. Super hard for middles, right? So bringing in a mid that doesn't play 15, it's really going to have to suit your team.
And the other query I really have is that this is a side where they've got a lot of injuries out at the moment. Just alone, Luke Garner, Ipaps, and Sorensen are all out. And you imagine that once they're back, 2 of those 3 are going to somehow take the edge spot from him.
Well, no,
so
Ipap's a middle now. So he's been
he's played edge the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, but he started the entire year as a middle. So, like,
he's playing edge though. I would
Yeah.
say
I know what you're saying, but like,
I think that IPAP, Sorensen, and Garner are all ahead of Henry on the second row roster. Otherwise, Henry would have played second row this year before today.
I agree with that. I think.
That's the concern I have. Is so you think he's going to go to the bench? Is it?
Well, I just think he's going to play extra minutes over the Origin period. He's like a couchman. If he gets 50 minutes, he'll score 50 points. And if Yo in the middle, what do you mean?
So he's going to get he's going to get a bench spot after this week. So next week, where is Liam Henry going to play?
So I'll just
off the bench in the middle.
I'm just going to do something real quick. I just want to last year because it's all we can really base it on, right? Is last year Liam Henry.
I mean, they also don't have James Fisher-Harris this year, so he might play those Fisher-Harris minutes over this period. It kind of just depends. And like I said to you on Discord earlier, he's one injury to a Lindsay Smith or an Isaiah Yeo away from being a season keeper.
So
that I agree with.
His minutes last year, I just want to actually look at this myself. He averaged, that's some dickhead, not average. He averaged 52 minutes last year, right, over this period, and his average points was 55.
He's just like a couchman. He just needs the opportunity, and I think the Origin period will be his time to get a bigger role in the team.
And that included 2 games, Bruce, of a 36 and a 32-minute game where he was on the interchange. So he started 3 games, which obviously would be probably not. He'll probably start 2 games here, and maybe.
But will he start 2 games here? Like he's going because again, they're not playing round 15.
Yeah, but
he'll start 16.
Round 16.
But why would he start 16? Because the players that are at edge will be back.
He'll start in the middle, mate.
Yeah.
But you think Matt Eisenhuth is going to maintain his spot in the team come fucking round 16?
Why would Liam Henry go to the starting spot instead of Eisenhuth? That's my concern. That's my query. Again, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I want to know why you think that's the case, because I don't necessarily see
because he's in their best 17 and Matt Eisenhuth isn't.
That would be a fair point.
I don't know. Like, I think this might actually be Eisenhuth's first game of the year. So I think that's probably why.
I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs.
Let me check, Matt. What's happening?
He's played 3 games this year. Yeah, 3 games this year.
I honestly just don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. No, that's fair. But yeah, he's absolutely in their best 17, and he's the next prop up outside of Leota and what's his name, Smith.
So he's getting 2 starting games in your analogy. He's getting 1 this week, and then he'll get 1 in round 16. The rest he'll just go back to being a bench who plays about 30 to 40 minutes.
Well, he'll get elevated minutes.
He might get slightly increased minutes next week with Yo being reduced minutes, one would imagine.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm banking on.
Yeah. So I'm trying to see it a little bit more, but
I mean, look, it's a risky play. It's not a slam. Like, it's not absolutely going to pay off, but the downside is basically what he scores, what he's priced at, and he doesn't lose cash. The upside is, he averages 50 over the Origin period. You've paid 470k for him, and he's made you 100k in that time.
And then you've got a Jewel to help you fill 17. Yeah.
Well, he even fills the other minors as well. Like, he's sort of like a more versatile Lockie Hubner, but he doesn't play the last 2 bye rounds.
Yep. Interesting call.
Fair shout.
Anybody else? So Fletcher Sharp moving back to fullback. Probably good thing. Get a good score out of him this week. Anybody else? KPP you happy with? Rumours are he's going to the Titans. Dylan Lucas being named is fucking amazing. Hella fucking lawyer for that. I think that's about it, man.
Yep.
Pretty much. I mean, Leo Thompson's a bit of a pod option if you need a middle this week at 618k. Saifedi's out for like 4 weeks. So it sort of fits perfectly with the run from now until round 17.
It's the opposite, right? It was like Saifedi's going to be a good option because he's going to get some big minutes, and then you can ride him with the bigger score he's going to get. And now Leo's coming, and he's like, oh, well, there's no Saifedi now. He's going to have the bigger role. So the fact they got Tyson Fazell in the other the other prop position should tell you all you need to know about the Knights middle right now. So
Yeah.
they
Absolutely.
they got an edge playing in the prop role. So next game, Roosters Sharks. Was hoping maybe there was an option in this team, weren't you, Rudely, for the Sharks team? Roddy ended up coming back.
I heard that Roddy was going to be out longer than he is, but good on him for getting back quickly. No options here.
Well,
Also,
there
I'm
is.
surprised Wilton's not back yet.
I think there's two buys that people should definitely be considering, and it's more around the buy scheduling later down the road, and that's Fanua Blake and Cameron McInnes. Because they fix massive issues for the later buy rounds.
We talked about this. I still don't rate buying AFB that much because his big scores this season have come off games where he's played elevated minutes because of injuries to the outside backs, like the Bulldogs game where he played 70 minutes. The Sharks received 2 outside back injuries.
If I've learned anything, about the Sharks team, mate, is they're made of fucking paper mache.
We are at the moment, but I don't know. I just don't think the minutes are high enough, but you can go worse.
I just think you put Fanua Blake in. People brought him at the start of the year as a keeper. Why is he not a keeper now? He doesn't play Origin. There's no chance Fanua Blake is getting called into Origin. I think it's just a safe buy.
Well, I just don't think AFB's actually going to be a keeper this year. I think he's going to be scoring the low 50s when there's that many mids this year who are scoring high 50s. I think it's a bit of a... you're literally just using him solely for the buys and they're going to be holding him as you're going to be running out of trades.
Well, if he's sitting on my 16th, 17th man and he's getting me a 53...
you can go worse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on holding the Maze. I've got Tarpany already. I've got Horse already. So... like having an AFB is just...
So you're going to hold those two, right? You're going to have... so you're going to hold Tarpany and Horse.
And May.
You're going to hold May.
Yeah.
You're going to want Haas and Yo.
I'm not touching Yo.
Why not?
Yeah. I think that's quite the move. You would rather AFB or Yo. I think the answer is going to be Yo.
Yeah, but you can't. You can't. Yo doesn't help me during Origin, whereas AFB does. Right, it's not Pokemon. I can't collect them all. And when it comes to round 20, I'm going to want to bring... because my plan is to actually sell Haas now that I found out he's injured. And then bring him back. And I'll probably... Well, like what Jay-Z was saying, you're not going to be able to get Preston, Campbell. If you sell Cleary, you sell Haas, you sell Yo. There's just no way you're getting these players back in. There's just too many of them. And we're sitting already at 13, 14 trades.
That's why I'm not selling them.
Yeah, but then you're fucked for buy rounds, dude, because you're not going to have players to cover. You can't hold them all either, man. So, you can't hold them all, right?
Watch me.
Yeah, right. Playing.
Just try and stop me.
playing 10 players round 15 because you decided you're going to hold everybody. It's just not possible.
Yeah, look, I'm more towards what Rudely's saying. We actually had a bit of a big yarn about AFB yesterday, and Eddie and I were sort of on the same page with his minutes in a typical game where there are no injuries to outside backs are somewhere between 45 and 55 minutes. He's not going to play more than that if everyone else is fit. And he's had a few real sort of low scores, even with tries. I think he managed a 40 against the Knights with a try.
44, yep.
52 against Manly with a try. So he's not exactly killing it this season like he has in years past. He sort of needed those bigger minutes to push him to the higher average that he had at the Warriors. But he still definitely is a keeper, and he just finds ways to score. And so you could do worse.
Now, the other thing I want to just say is look at their bench, right? They've got no one going to Origin, and they've got Jesse Coughlin, Talakai, and Hamueli on the bench.
But that's not going to... Well,
because your boy got injured, right?
Hazelton's out injured, week-to-week prospect. He'll be back eventually.
I just think he's going to
Rudolph's out injured. He's coming back.
He's going to do good over Origin, man. I got a feeling about it. It's a vibe, as Jay-Z would say.
I think he will do well at Origin because he's going to be versing a bunch of forward packs like this week where they don't have any players.
And then if AFB is a one trade to fucking Haas, hallelujah. Do it down the drain. Do
You
it
just
down
said
there.
you're going to keep him.
Well, no, I'm trading Haas out. I'm trading Haas out.
How much money do you think AFB is going to make, though? Like, he's not going to get to 900k.
You might get to 800, and then it's only 150k to get to Haas.
Okay. The other question I have, Thorskin, I really want you to explain this to me. What is the glitch you're using to get infinite trades?
Well, I'm not. So I'm not.
Because you're selling you're selling Haas.
Don't have
buying
Yo.
AFB, then you're selling AFB. So you're selling Cleary. Selling Cleary.
No, well, I'm not. I'm like, okay, so Cleary could be a trade out round 15 for me, just so I don't dodge the. We're getting really into my fucking plot, my buy planning, man. Let's just get through team this. You know what I mean? I'm buying a Fanua Blake this week because I think his base is going to be 55. His upside is an 80. Let's just go with that. Right?
Yeah,
That's
I think
why I'm buying.
AFBs are fine. I think there's better options, but I don't think I could really say there's worse options.
Well, who's a better option to buy in a mid this week?
Liam Henry, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I'd actually say Liam Henry.
Doesn't play 17. Doesn't cover the.
Okay.
Like,
So one thing, and again, we're getting into buy rounds here, is sort of the idea of I'm going to have him for the first buy, and then for the last two buys, you just buy someone that plays both of them. So whether that's like a Keon Kaloa Matangi or I don't know, maybe Jake Trebojevic at 420k might even be an option, a bit left of center, but that's sort of what I think. How I think about buy rounds is about making efficient trades over a time period.
Yeah.
It's great owning AFB. He's going to be fine. You probably don't even need to have an extra mid in 18. So that suits your team, right?
Yeah.
But for other teams, like I have like no roosters, so I need to start looking at guys that play 15 and 18 rather than 12 and 15. I've got all these knights that play sort of 12 and 15. Hopefully Max King and Rob Toya come back, so I have two more players in 15 as well. But that's what you got to be thinking about when you're making trades around these buy rounds, is you need to sort of have at least an idea of when you're going to shift players off. Like I know for myself, Iongi, Riley Smith, they're both trades, like very soon. Tamale might even be a trade. Savala's going to be a trade. You can't hold everyone, and you can't sell everyone. You can't buy everyone. So you need to be real careful and real efficient with your trades.
Yeah. So with bringing in AFB, I have priced that into what I'm doing down the track. All right. I don't expect him to make money, so I just expect to bring him in. He sits in my team till Origin, and then he sits in the reserves. It sits on the interchange for me. Gets me 50-55, and I'm happy with that. So that suits me, right? The only thing I'm saying is with Colo, is you got to be careful about that round 19 if you've stacked yourself with any type of a Garrick and then a heap of the Raiders. And then you have a couple,
which is a fair point.
And then if you have a couple people not back up, you're going to be really short on fucking people round 19, and that's unexpected. So, yeah, I just be careful if you're going to get all these fucking the gun rabbits, because they share that round 19 with the Raiders.
Cut in here real quick. Round 19 is a minor buy round. You only have to field 13.
Yeah, but you already probably got 4 to 5 Raiders in your team, man.
So unless you're having 4 of Souths and Manly,
well,
you're going to be fine.
You're probably going to have Aiken, like at a minimum, right? And then if
Not necessarily.
Well, you should. Otherwise, you're playing the game wrong.
I mean, to Bryce's point, there are a lot of relevant players. So Tarpanay, Hosking, Fogarty, Tamale, Aitken, Kaloa Matangi, Ruben Garrick, Jazz, if you still have him at that point. And then you need to think about the Origin players that might not back up as well.
Yep.
So let's say Payne Haas doesn't back up, Isaiah Yeo doesn't back up, and you could end up in a situation where you have 10 players out before a ball has been kicked.
Cleary, Munster, there's all these players that if you're holding for this period that might be out.
It's a fair point, and to most people have 4 Raiders at least. A lot of people have 5 Raiders.
Yep.
And then a lot of people have Garrick, a lot of people have Jazz, and then these South buys are going to be very popular next week as well.
Yeah. Just for assistance, because I know probably Cleary's the big question. Panthers played the second to last game for round 19.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I expect Cleary to back up. The question mark would be Yo. So, anyway,
Second last game I reckon Yo backs up.
so Roosters, buys in this team. You're buying Zach Docker-Clay, which is a fucking mistake, but good luck. Victor Radley, are you still high on Victor, Jay-Z?
I am, especially now that he's been named lock. It's a really good position for him, actually. I kind of expected him to be sitting out on an edge during these rounds while Crichton was out, but they've plugged Egan Butcher in there. Makatoa, Butcher, Lasalo, they're not playing big minutes.
No.
There's a very real chance that Radley plays 80 minutes in all three major bye rounds, which is just happy days if you own him. And we know that he is a sort of high 40s point scorer and cut price. So I'd actually, when you're looking at guys like AFB, similar to how I think Burton is a more efficient trade than Isaiah Katoa, I think Victor Radley is a more efficient trade than sort of a lower end middle or edge keeper. Because you're going to trade him out. You have a clear plan for what you're going to do with him. And when we get to the end of the origin period, you don't have to be like, oh, okay, AFB stuck as my 17th man playing 45 minutes a game in my team. You know you're trading Radley out.
Yeah. So, efficient, but you've got to spend another trade. Potentially. Yeah. So, would you do a direct swap from White down to Radley right now? Then
if White was part of your plans and you'd planned to use White over the major buy rounds, it makes perfect sense to trade him to Vic.
There you go. You've just
don't hate it.
Food for thought, man. Because right now I need White for round 15 for my plan to work. So
Radley does the same thing.
He does, and I then don't wreck myself for round 17 because.
But you are betting on him getting 80 minutes. I'm not saying this.
I'm not betting on getting 80 minutes because I think you're 100% right with what you're saying about White. Whether he's made his money and he's just going to get a 55-minute roll and probably average a high to low 50.
Yeah, so if you hold another downside, if you hold White and he's not back in 15, then I got
to bring in Radley then, and Radley's made 60k and he costs me more money. So
I'm a strong believer White's done. Like if you have White, he's made you the money. It's time to move him on. If you've just brought White in, fucking shit luck, I guess.
Cut your losses.
Like, again, as you say, there's no guarantee he'll be back round 15. If he is back round 15, there's no guarantee he'll have the same role. He could play less minutes. He's not a keeper. He was literally just used for buy coverage. I think, as you're saying, Jay-Z, I think going to Victor Radley is actually a pretty good like-for-like.
Yeah, I don't mind that trade at all. Now, Kiraz straight to Tedesco, pretty straightforward.
If you need a wing fullback, Teddy's the one to go with.
Yep.
Only concern is that he might end up in Origin game 2.
You're going to have... Yeah. He wasn't...
Yeah, so
have to take a shot now.
He's exactly like Isaiah Katoa in the sense that if you already have 3 wing fullbacks, I wouldn't bother because, yes, he's playing this week, guaranteed. There's a real chance he makes the Origin team for game 2. If anything happens to Dill Edwards or if the Blues lose, his form has been that good that one loss could see him straight back into the team. So for Teddy, for me, I'm waiting to round 15. He's absolutely part of my round 15 plans at the moment. I'm not going to buy him until we get there. Yeah. He's also playing...
need a wing fullback, so he's coming straight in for me.
Yeah, same. I need a wing fullback because Kiraz is dead. I'm buying.
He also has really tough matchups before round 15. So he's got full strength Cronulla, and then I think he plays Canberra next week.
Yep.
So it's not the most appealing. Obviously, I'm never going to talk anyone out of buying James Tedesco. He's been fantasy relevant since he was like 18 years old. But there are risks. And if you already have 3 wing fullbacks and you're buying him to avoid scoring someone like an Iongi or Tamale, then I think that's a clear mistake.
Yep. I think, Tamale could quite easily get a 50 this week against the Warriors. I don't think there's anyone else to talk about in that other game, so we'll get into the Warriors Raiders. How many Raiders do you have, boys? I've got 4. And I looked at Morgan Smithies because why not?
If you only have 4, I'd be very tempted to buy Morgan Smithies. I have 5, and I'm very tempted to buy Morgan Smithies.
Me and Eddie were both very against buying Morgan Smithies.
Really?
I think his minutes are a bit of an illusion. Tarpanay only played 50. Hosking got an early rest because they were flogging the Titans. And Ricky likes to rotate his middles with just sort of random minutes. So I wouldn't be buying Smithies based on one game where his PPM was really high and he killed it. He showed us last year that he promises a lot as a player and then almost never delivers. So I wouldn't be doing it personally. I think, especially with the amount of Raiders players that everyone has in their team, it's just a silly trade.
Yeah, so Sasangi's not an 80-minute edge, so he's going to be getting a break. Yeah, I don't know. I'm as I said, I got 4, so I don't want to hurt myself come round 19, and I'm only looking at trying to bring in players that I'm happy with come round 20 to still be in my team. So it's just, and Smithy's is probably not one of them players for me.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, maybe you could use him as a downgrade from White, but he doesn't play around 15, and I think 15 is way trickier than 18 is. So
15 is
I
incredible
don't.
to me.
He does have upside, but I just don't think it's enough to warrant bringing him in.
Yeah. Don't think anybody else. Zach Hosking's not a buy. Horse, Tarpany. Tarpany's definitely a buy if you need a mid. That's if you don't own Tarpany and you need a middle, that is probably the buy, right?
Yeah, I think he's owned very by most of the top teams at this point.
Yeah.
I think he's a must-have for Origin. It's as simple as that.
Going on, I don't think there's anybody else in the Raiders that in their team list. Going across to the Warriors team. No, I'm not excited about anyone. Aaron Clark, if you don't own him and you need a hooker, that's the one to buy. Figure out round 15 and 18, come round 15.
So captains, I would think the two strongest captaincy options are both in this game. Which way are you boys going?
I got Aaron Clark at the moment, but I got my VC juice on Katoa because I want him to have a good game.
I've currently got Aaron Clark captained, but I am very seriously considering captaining Lucas against a pathetic Panthers team.
I think it's too risky with the sort of shoulder instability, but if he didn't have that shoulder problem, absolutely.
That's my big concern is that I do think there's a real risk of re-injury.
Yeah. There's also a chance that he plays center come game day as well. So
that's the other concern.
For me, I have been on Aaron Clark the whole week, but from talking to Scoop and Eddie yesterday, I almost talked myself into thinking this might be Tarpanay's real big minute game. And if he gets a big minute game, then he is going to go 70 plus guaranteed. The thing that leans me towards Clark is that 3 out of his last 4 scores are 70 plus. And there's a real chance he plays 80 minutes in this game.
That's what I was about to say. I think he actually plays 80. Just looking at the bench and looking who's in this team, he's going to play 80 minutes, 75.
Tarpanay's good. I'd like Tarpany, but as you said, the minutes are a concern. And I think what benefits Clark is that security minutes in a game that we know both teams are going to run it up the middle more often than not. That's what the Warriors and the Raiders like to do, is to play the middle game.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game will be played mostly through the middle. An argument you could make is that due to the Warriors forward pack being really underdone, that Clark misses a few more tackles and maybe has to take a few tougher carries, which could lead to more negatives and maybe a couple errors and missed tackles. And whereas Tarpanay is just a PPM beast, it's all about minutes for him. And if we knew that he was guaranteed to be playing 60 plus, I think I would lean towards him.
I think I've seen the stat earlier that the top 1,000 that currently have the season that selected, Clark was way ahead, right? And then it was Tarpany. It was 60 to 20 or something from what Scoop
Clark
posted.
makes the most sense.
Yeah, Clark does make the most sense. Anything else to talk about this game?
Tarpany, you get a 40 and then you get shoved with a crappy captain and score.
Yeah,
exactly right. But it's a type of game you could also score a try in. They're running out Jackson Ford, Bunty Afoa, and the most Warriors-looking player of all time, Tanner Stowers-Smith. Like, just a taller, leaner version of Sam Rapira.
Yep, they brought in some more double barrel names. Let's go. Yeah, I've got the Raiders in this game. Break the 5-game winning streak of the
I've got
Warriors.
the Raiders too.
Yeah,
I have
lean
both
the
first and
Raiders.
second losing this week. I think Dogs will lose to the Finns. I reckon Warriors will lose to the Raiders.
I don't think there's anything else to talk about for that game. Origin we don't care about. So I don't care about that.
Okay, who do we think's going to win Origin this?
No one
this
cares.
week?
No one cares, man. No
Blues,
one
Blues should win 3-0 with the teams picked.
We're
Slater's really picked a really bad side.
We'll talk about the Maroons Blues next week, man. Like, come on. They don't play this week. Who cares? Buy planning. Do you guys have a buy plan you can load up on your screen and look at and understand what's going on? Have you done a spreadsheet?
I'm not the type of person that does that. I kind of do it where I look at the rounds upcoming. So I sort of have like an idea of who's out coming up and who plays the majors, but I don't put it down to a science like some people do. Like some people have crazy spreadsheets. Whereas I'm kind of like, oh, the Raiders play this game, or like I know the Cowboys and South play 15 and 18, for example. So I know that buying them in round 13 makes a lot of sense. Where instead of doing it like I'm going to make this trade here and this trade here, I think last week was the exact reason why doing that is a bit over the top. We lost White, Hoya, Kiraz, and Max King, all very, very good buy options that all made the team. So you need to be able to sort of adapt on the fly, which is something that you can't really prepare for.
Which is why I think the very important part of buy planning is knowing exactly what rounds players are out, like what rounds clubs have got off, and then who they share that buy with, right? Because to me, round 19 is deceptively tricky to get through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Round 19 is scary to me. Like the 13, it's Bulldogs, Sharks, Dolphins. We got 8 players that can sit on the bench that round. Hardly any of them have gone to Origin. Not full of any of our teams. It's not bad. 13's not hard. Right? 16, a little bit harder. Bulldogs, Manly, and the Dragons. Now, you're probably going to want to bring in some of them players because you've now got a 15, 18 where them clubs play. So you got to probably load up on a couple of Bulldogs. You're going to bring in a couple of Manly. You probably should already have them. And then you're going to bring in some Dragons players round 13. Maybe Stewart, you know what I mean? So
yep.
16's got an option where it can be a little bit tricky. And then you've probably got Roosters players you've had all year coming into round 17, and you can't have more than 4. Because round 17 is a full round. So knowing what round players are actually out is hugely important. And I would say, if you're not someone who knows that, go get yourself a spreadsheet or a photo of the buy rounds and actually sit down, look at it, and figure out what clubs are actually away. Because you will get fucked in round 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Because
for sure.
They're tough.
You can use the buy planner on Footy Stats and you just plug your team name in and it'll tell you who you've got in what round, and then you have to do a bit of manual, like this guy's playing Origin, this guy's not playing Origin, but it basically takes all the need of a spreadsheet away.
Yeah, it will show you where you're lacking, right? Just the trade stuff that works in that doesn't work properly. It doesn't give you the right values, but that's fine. So now that I've got that out of the way, buys next week to start planning this shoot around. Aiken, Stewart, probably going to be.
There's a bunch of guys that were sort of no-goes at this point that now become real considerations next week. Those guys you just listed, Stewart should probably play a pretty big role, maybe only for a week because Couchman's expected back in 14. But guys like Jaden Campbell and Scott Drinkwater, who don't play the first bye, but they play the other. Well, Campbell plays one, but Drinkwater plays the other 2 buys. Guys that fill roles in other buy rounds that you don't have players for. And so something I've sort of talked about over the last couple of weeks is the concept of efficient trading. So that's selling cows where they play one buy round and then you can piss them off for someone else, or buying a keeper that doesn't play the first buy round but plays the next 2 buy rounds. And that's where it's really important over the Origin period to time your trades so that, like, you're selling a Savala on the Roosters buy, so you don't get caught with too many Roosters, or basically things like that you need to take into consideration. When is the best time for me to sell Nathan Cleary? A lot of people thought that was in round 11. I actually think it's in round 15, because in round 15, he'll miss 15, he'll miss 16, he'll play 17, but then he'll miss 18. So Cleary's only out of your team for 1 week over that period. Whereas if you traded him in 11, you'll miss his score in 13 and 14 as well, which, we know what Nathan Cleary can do. That's a scary thought.
And the teams he's playing in 13 and 14, he should put decent scores up against. You're not going to want to miss them scores.
Exactly right. He's the best, has been the best player in fantasy for a long time.
Yeah. So that's also my plan. Is a Cleary to sell in 15. Haas, with the injury news, I'm planning to actually sell next week.
That one I'm not as sold on, because you can cover for someone like Haas, because the rounds he's not likely to play are the rounds where we only need 13 players. So you should be able to theoretically cover for someone like Payne Haas next week if he doesn't back up, as an example. Whereas, go on.
I disagree with you both here. I understand why you want to sell these players, but if you don't need to, you shouldn't. And you're saying that Haas is coverable because he has buys that are where you need to field 13 players. Well, so does Cleary. Cleary's buys after round 11 now are both major buys as well, and what rounds he'd normally be playing Origin anyway. It's just that round 16 that's a concern. And it's one extra game that you otherwise would be missing. But he's going to be someone you have to sell, and then you have to bring him back afterwards.
So,
it's just extra trades.
I agree, but if you actually look at how hard it is to get, so what are the actual half options for round 15? Because Savala, so Savala is probably going to be gone, right? Walker will be back by round 15 by all accounts, right? If he's not, you don't have to make that trade till round 15, and you can make that choice, right? But come round 15, if there is no Savala, who is? There's no Fogarty, right? You may be able to bring in the what's his name from fucking Storm. That's not even playing very well right now.
Wishart, they don't play round 15.
Not Wish. Oh, it does. Okay, so they got to buy that weekend. It's not even worth it. So, right now, I'm looking at ICAT and Burton as my round 15 halves.
Well, that's fair.
Right. And then round 18 is the opposite, right? Because ICAT's not playing. You've got no money. You've got none of the Origins players. It's really hard, and LKT will be gone. Savala will be gone. You're really going to be banking on picking up a budget somewhere. So I think selling Cleary and bringing in someone that plays them rounds that you need to fill, and it's going to get you a really good score, works.
So I understand that you're saying it's round 15. I might not sell, but something's going to come up. But the thing is, I think something is almost definitely going to come up, because one, I think Burton's probably going to be one of the best buys to have. You should already have one of Fogarty and ICAT already at this point. You should just have one of those.
Fogarty doesn't play 15 though.
Yeah,
he doesn't play 15, but so you have Burton, you have LKT, who you ideally don't want to play. But
I don't have LKT.
But you're one of the few that doesn't have LKT.
So but LKT may be a sell before then, man. You don't know. He comes out and gets another 15. He's not making any money.
But he's not losing any money.
Well, he's useless to you, man.
He's not going anywhere.
You're not playing him in a buy round to get a 15. What's the point of that, man?
Well, but because then you have to waste a trade selling Cleary to bring him back in 3 turns later.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think it kind of depends, and I'm not guaranteed to be selling Cleary in 15 either way, for what it's worth. It's more the balance of your team, right? Let's use Munster as an example this week. Munster was someone I had penciled in as a trade before
Yep.
round 12, but he scored 270s back to back, has a low break even, and is looking like the player that we all thought he'd be at the start of the year.
Yep.
So my thinking now is I'm probably going to hold Munster for the next few weeks. Even if I was to sell Munster, I wouldn't be able to do much with his money. Whereas Nathan Cleary, because he's so expensive, you can actually do a lot with his money. And yes, it's going to cost you an extra trade to get him back in. But if that means you're scoring like 100 extra points over round 15 and round 18, then I think that's worth it. I don't think Haas is a sell. Unless he has a serious injury, he's fairly easy to cover for. And sort of to your point earlier, is we have an abundance of mids that are really good options. So he's much easier to cover than someone like Cleary, where there aren't that many halves that are backups. Like you're going to need to start playing your Campbells and your Sharps in the half.
So
with Haas,
yeah, go, man.
with Haas, he's got an injury at the perfect time for owners. Like,
yes, exactly right.
You should actually be celebrating these injured at this point compared to 4 weeks ago.
So now that I've looked in and the white to the white
Radley?
to Radley makes a lot more sense to me in my head. I don't then need to. I'll have money when it comes to getting up Stewart and Aiken. I won't need the Haas money to make that deal work, right? So that makes more sense to me now. And selling Haas, I might be able to actually carry Haas through. It's just that to get the players I want, like the Aikens, the Stewarts, the Burton, like they're not cheap players. They're not basement players. You've got to upgrade like a Tamale or a Toya or someone like that to these players. It costs money to do that. It's not free. So selling a Haas when he's not going to be at his peak, he's not going to be playing the big minutes, and he's not going to be getting 75, 80s, because my expectation is he will have a reduced role over Origin. And then he drops a tiny bit of money, and you can get him up, like, just maximizing the amount of money that you get from him. Does that make sense?
Well, I think it's more maximizing points on the field than it is maximizing money, and it's being efficient. So when I talk about efficiency, I talk about like me selling Toby Cashman last week. I know when Toby Cashman comes back, he's probably not going to break his 78 break even. Yep. He might. He scored above that once this season, but chances are he comes back and only plays like 45 to 55 minutes and gets a handy sort of 50 to 60 point score. Now, while he's been out of my team, I got to bring in a keeper, and I got a keeper level score that also plays round 12, and I'll bring him back come round 15, ideally maybe 20 to 30k cheaper than I sold him for. But I've kept his points that I had that would have been in my team anyway, flowing throughout the whole period. And so I guess that's where I'm getting at with thinking about trading guys like Cleary is it's a lot of money to have if you're going to have Cleary, May, Haas, and whatever other big money players you have out for those rounds. If you can use their money in a meaningful way, that means instead of having to trade in like a subpar scorer that you know you're going to have to trade out, if you can then trade in two keepers that are going to be in your final team but are also buy friendly, so Kaloa Matangi comes to mind, getting Couchman back comes to mind, Jacob Preston, where we're probably not going to have enough money to buy those guys outright without having to sell someone. And chances are by the end of the Origin period, you're going to have, and that's the idea of me buying someone like Liam Henry, right? Is that he's going to make, in my mind, 100 to 150k over the Origin period. And that's going to ease the burden of having to find extra money of bringing someone like Cleary back in. Again, I'm not 100% trading out Cleary, but when I think about the buy rounds like this, it's someone that can sort of ease the gap, but also score really well for you over that time period. So you're not actually, you're sort of cashing out in a sense, even though you're doing it to mid-ranges.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, because in my mind it makes sense, but maybe I sound stupid.
No, it does make sense.
I get it entirely. I'm just of a strong mind that players like Cleary shouldn't be sold; they should be held. Like I get you getting a few good scores here and there, like getting 3 extra rounds of good scores.
So, but my question to you, Ridley, is who are you holding that plays Origin?
I'm holding at the moment Yo, Cleary, who are Origin players. And I'm currently holding. I've still been holding Couchman.
So
That's actually it.
you're holding two.
Yeah, I'm not holding too many.
So you're holding. It's easy for you, man. You're holding two people, right? People who brought in Max King have Haas, have Cleary, may have Yo, got Toya.
Surely you have Max King. Yeah, I know that's a question, Jason. You brought in Max King. Are you holding him?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Because you think he's not going
that's
to be in Origin game 2?
I reckon there's a fairly high chance that happens. Not if New South Wales win Origin, but I'm pretty certain one of King or Toya is not going to be in game 2. Whoever loses game 1, I expect whoever plays for their respective state to be dropped for game 2. I'd be surprised. And so because I'm doing that and holding like a Max King, let's say King's back in round 15. Okay, great. I can play him. I can sell Cleary. And I can use Cleary's money to trade in someone else. There was a point just then that I was going to make, but I've completely lost it. But yeah, it's a very fair point that Bryce makes in terms of if you have guys like Munster and Toya and King, who you sort of banked on being in all three of your buy rounds, I wouldn't be selling those guys. Like there are some guys that you just don't want to sell because if circumstances change for them, the upside is just so high. At the moment, I have no plans for anyone other than Rob Toya to play centre for me in round 18. So him getting picked for Origin has thrown a massive spanner for me. So I'm holding him at least until we know
What
the
happens?
game 2. I probably won't hold him if he gets picked again, but I'd strongly suspect he'll be dropped.
Yeah. So for me, I've got like, when do we expect Kiraz back? 17. So if
Yeah.
Holding Kiraz.
No, I'm not holding Kiraz. I sold Kiraz. I went to Teddy. But if Toya is someone that is named in game 2, that is something that I'd be looking at, is a Toya to a Kiraz move. I need to have money for that trade. So I cash down over Haas to someone like a Stewart, gives me the money to do that trade. Right?
Yeah. It's about keeping sort of money rolling, but also in your scoring players, right?
Yep.
Because in my mind, and this is just a very vague plan, is that come round 19, where the Raiders and Manly and Souths have that bye, Zach Hosking's probably not still going to be in my team. Tamale's probably still not going to be in my team. They're going to be guys that I can use to get back to Cleary, who should back up in that round. So it's basically I'm missing Cleary for one game, but for those other 3 games, I have gotten 2 extra keeper level scorers, which should not just bridge that gap, but destroy it, really.
Yep. I agree completely.
Fair enough.
Because round 15, if you come to round 15 and you are only a Clark enjoyer like I am so scared I get to round 15 and then I have to buy Reed money. And then how do I do that? Right? It may be just Cleary. Cleary's the way I get to Reed money, and that might sound really ridiculous to people. But the points that you leave on the table by not bringing in Reed is more than the trade.
Yeah, so I think that kind of moves us into the topic that I think we should discuss, which is on a lot of people's minds, is the hooker position for the buy rounds.
Yeah. Clark and Reed fixes everything.
I don't disagree. I also think, and I know I'm a madman, Clark and Zach Docker Clay fixes everything.
It doesn't, man. It doesn't.
I don't love Zach Docker Clay.
You've got to be shitting yourself that they've got a rookie hooker on the bench.
I'm not impressed, but he scored well in good minutes in the middle.
You are better. Like honestly, you are better off bringing in Victor Radley, right? That way you're covered this week for your mid. He gives you a lot better dual position. He gives you a lot better coverage over the entire Origin round. And then when round 15 comes up, you just do what the rest of us are doing and figure it out then.
So that's another benefit that we didn't really touch on with selling someone like Cleary and being able to use his money, right? It's that you don't have to buy Zach Docker Clay just because he plays Origin.
Exactly.
You can pay up and buy like a Clark or something. I know everyone already has Clark, but let's say come round 15, instead of having to run Zach Clay with a rookie hooker on the bench, and then have a guy that's just useless every other round of the season, you have someone like, at least Reed Marnie is playable in your team. He may not be in your starting 17, but if a hooker goes down last minute, or like let's say Aaron Clark gets injured, what other hookers are you going to have to cover him? Zach Clay, you really want his 12 points to cover Aaron Clark in round 21?
Again, that's the big criticism of this plan I was doing, was that it's not really hooker cover. It's just solely for those 3 rounds. And I still think Zach Clay will score well in those 3 rounds that matter. And I think that there's a good chance that he'll get somewhat increased minutes in the backup games for Watson, even if it's not significant. I think that's the best. I don't think it's unlikely. So I think there's an opportunity for him to make money over these 3 rounds, and it's a more efficient use of trades than an alternative of, say, buying a mid this week and then targeting another hooker later on. But now that Victor Radley's kind of been raised, I actually don't mind the idea of using Victor Radley to kind of solve this problem. Solves out a lot of other problems as well. And then leaving hooker till round 15.
He fixes a round 15 middle issue. He fixes like a round 18 edge issue that you might have. Like,
I don't have any round 18 edge issue. I have a round 15 and around.
So who you're running around 18 edges?
Well, I've got KPP, Hosking, and Wong.
So KPP.
So my edges are set.
Yeah, okay.
So it'll be Hosking and Wong on round 18, and round 15 it'll be KPP and Wong.
Yeah.
So my edges aren't a problem. It's just middles, because middles are quite hard because a lot of them are Raiders and a lot of them my mids.
Yeah, well, when you posted your round 15 mids, you had May who's on a bye, mate. So you're...
Yeah, I was cooking with something there. Yeah, no, I don't mind that. I still don't hate the Zach Clay play.
Yeah, I do.
I don't like, with 21-man squads, having a spot that's basically dead in your team. Maybe in the last 5 rounds or something, but it's so valuable to have backup scorers that can actually score points, just due to the last minute shenanigans that we're no doubt going to have come the back end of the season.
When round 15 comes, there's a real option that you get someone really cheap from the Cowboys that you can cash down to.
Why would there be a real option?
Well,
because Robson's
playing Origin, man.
Yeah, so and what about the 2 rounds in between?
Well, you're using him as a cash down.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
How's that different to getting Zach Clay now?
Because Zach Clay's not a cash down, mate.
Yeah, he's not base price. Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, I think I would rather do that if I had Clark or a Riley Smith. Like, obviously, if you have Riley Smith, you're playing him. But if you only had a Clark, I'd be tempted to just play him hooker and find a mid for this round, because then at least if you bring in a base price Cowboys hooker, then yeah, they're useless for other weeks, but they're a true cash out. Like, do you really want to have just an extra 100k sitting around because you own Zach Clay?
I want to cut you off there, because the person that's most likely to take that hooker spot is Carl Lawton, who's actually more expensive than Zach Clay.
No, it's Carl Lawton. I don't think Carl Lawton will do it, because he hasn't played many minutes at hooker at all. Like, none.
Who do you think will do it?
So I think because of the fact that we need to look at next year, they're going to bring through the, I can't even remember his name right now. They'll bring through our Q Cup hooker and play him, because he is
exactly what is he?
I just think he's
now betting, instead of playing Carl Lawton, who's played hooker for long minutes before at Manly.
Yeah,
they're going to bring up a rookie and make him play 80 minutes.
Well, Carl Lawton's not even signed for next year. There's no guarantee he's going to be in the team next year, man.
No, I mean this year, Carl Lawton, who's played hooker before for long minutes at Manly, is not going to play hooker, because he's going to bring up a Q Cup player and going to make him play 80 minutes.
Because you're not going to have Cotter.
Is that the plan?
Well, you're not going to have Cotter, so you're going to need a lock, right? And Lawton has been our replacement lock.
Sorry,
when he's played.
McIntyre has been playing lock.
McIntyre will play prop.
I've been giving shit for buying Zach Clay, but you want to buy...
No, I don't want to. I'm saying it could be a real option when round 15 comes around, that you've got a 230k hooker named for the Cowboys.
I don't think that's a real option, to be honest. I think it's a distinct possibility, and that's probably being generous.
And then my actual plan is just to buy Reed Money.
Yeah, you say that, and I'm coming back to Zach Dr. Clave. I think I
Well,
prefer Zach Dr. Clave's big minutes.
Then
3 rounds
then
to Reed Money.
it's just silly.
I'd rather read money.
Yeah,
For the reason I just stated, like having an actual backup hooker
Yep.
on a non-origin round, I think is more valuable than having like maybe the same kind of scoring for 2 origin rounds.
Now, one player I do want to talk about for later buy rounds and that you want to plan for that fixes a few problems is Humphreys. Because he should have lost some money, and 15 and 18 he won't have Latrell there stealing his goal kicking. He should go back to goal kicking so he gets some really good scores. But is he a keeper from then on? Probably not.
I don't think so. He scored a 49 last week, but that's with 2 turnovers, and I think the ball was in play for a ridiculous amount of time in that game. That's why Terrell May and Kalama Matangi had like just made up stat lines. That's how much work that both of them did in that game.
Yeah. But like he plays both 15 and 18, and halves are a problem in 15 and 18.
I think something needs to happen to Latrell to even consider Humphreys.
Well, that's quite a possibility, mate. He might kill Toya on fucking Wednesday night.
Oh, so. Absolutely.
The other thing it's not a solution for round 15 halves, but there is a very good chance that we're going to have a cashy or at least a good half to buy at the Tigers for round 18, given the news of Galvin. I don't think anyone's really anticipating Galvin to stay at that club much longer, given what broke. Was it yesterday or today?
This morning, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, Fino's a real shot. Potentially, Adam Dewey goes into 6.
Not getting hurt again with Adam Dewey, mate.
Oh, mate, I'm ready to go in and get hurt again. I don't know. But there's some real options coming for the halves in round 18. I don't think it's obviously round 15 one, which is probably the harder in my opinion.
But round 15, the Tigers half doesn't play, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The round 15 one's the issue.
Yeah. Well, that's where someone like Jaden Campbell comes in, where you can play him at half for round 15 only.
Yeah.
And then you don't need him in round 18 because you can pick up Latu Fainu. He is injured at the moment, though. I think he's not expected back till round 14.
Yeah.
Campbell?
No.
No, Latu Fainu.
Oh, Latu Fainu, yeah, you got a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm not actually planning on picking up Campbell until after round 18 because I am really struggling for a half in round 18, and he doesn't help me with that.
You not have Fogarty?
I don't have Fogarty, no. I'd have to buy Fogarty, which is why Humphrey was on my radar because he fixes a real issue for me. So
yeah,
and he's cheaper than Fogarty. So that's the other thing, right? It's that where am I getting the money from? You know, if I can get Humphreys without having to sell a Cleary, that makes way more sense to me. So
yeah,
round 15 is going to be huge for me because that's literally going to set the rest of my year up. It's who am I going to be stuck with in my 21 that I have to buy for round 15 and 18, and it's you really need to be looking at what clubs are not playing because the last thing you want to be doing is trading out an Origin star because you fucked up and you didn't count.
Yeah. So I guess a question to ask of both of you then is after this round, after round 12, who are you trading out? Who are you bringing in? What's your plan for once we've gotten over this first buy?
So now that White to Radley is now in my head, I don't probably need to sell Haas. I definitely want to bring in Aiken and Stewart next week. They will probably be my definitely 2 buys. Round 14, I'm looking at Burton.
Yep.
Round 15, will need a hooker, I know for certain. So whoever that is. And I will need a half to accompany Burton for round 18.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my must-haves, basically. I need.
So who are you trading to get to those players, though?
So
who's leaving your team?
KK, Savala, LKT, potentially Tamale. Right? Mm-hmm. That's why the Haas deal was on the table to get the funds. But I've got 300k in the bank right now if I do White to Rads, right? So then I probably don't need the money for the cash down from Haas. I could probably potentially scrape through.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think for me, that's another big reason why trading someone like Cleary out is so appealing in 15 is you don't have a dead spot and you can also use his money in those couple of rounds.
Because then when you look at it, like round 20, Stewart's going to be pretty much useless to you, right? Toya's probably going to be useless to you because you're going to have a Lucas, a Garrick, in your team. They're going to be probably your starting 2 centers. You potentially have a Fermor if you've held that guy the whole way through. If by some fucking miracle Aiken gets center, because the word is he's not getting it for some stupid reason, right?
Yeah.
So Toya's pretty much useless to you at that point. Are you going to hold a Nawa all year? Probably not. He's going to be a downgrade sell option. So round 20 for me is you're going to have all these 500-600k dudes, mid-rangers that just need to be cashed out and upgraded. And that's going to be my plan to use them to get whoever I had to sell, the Cleary, the Haas, whoever, back in the team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's probably something to note is that you just need to have a plan for this. Like you can't just trade Cleary out and pray for the best. Like you need to have a reason why you're making the trades you're making.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if trades are bad, as long as the logic is there and it makes sense to you. I mean, look, if you make the same moves as everyone else, you're just going to rank worse than them because, they know what they're doing more than you know what you're doing.
Yep.
So you need to just have a clear, coherent plan in your mind for, okay, I'm going to trade this player out this round because it lets me buy this player that plays 15 and 18. Or I'm going to buy Jaden Campbell to play him in 15, knowing that I need to get someone else in 18. So while I do say that I wing it a bit, I do have sort of vague plans in my head for when I'm going to make certain trades or when I'm going to buy certain players.
Yeah. I got windows, right? I'm looking at a player between this window and this window. If I miss that window, I don't then try to force the trade because then I feel really bad about it. I'd just rather just miss the player, right? So for me, Kiraz is going to be somewhere between 17 and 20. It's sort of when I'm going to want to get Kiraz. And for me, it's a Tamale that I'm looking to move. I don't really want Tamale round 19 because I just feel like he's going to push so close to me not being able to field 13 that week if I have a couple injuries or someone doesn't back up.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think that's super. Have the idea of who you want to bring in. For me, I've got round 21, I've got a wish list, right? If they are fit, this is who I want in my team. How do I work with that team? Yeah, no, Liam Henry's probably not in your wish list.
He's top of mine.
So, like fucking Ruli's got Seyfarth. He's got fucking Taff in his round 21 wish list team. Like,
I'm sure he's got Taff this week, right?
Tafe could solve a lot of my problems, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, he'll solve a problem with you being in the top 3,000. That's what he'll solve.
Oh, man, if I buy Tafe, I can play sharp in the heart.
Genius.
Yeah.
He is basement as well. What a cash out.
You found it. You've cracked the code.
I've been quiet for a second there, but I was looking through Victor Radley's stats, and man, it doesn't inspire, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like a high 40s average at lock over his career.
Over his career, yeah. Like, he requires that 80 minutes, really. I don't think he's getting 80 minutes. He's a real suspension concern, not to mention a HIA concern. Oh,
he's not for the lighthearted, I'll say that.
So if he
You're
over 50 minutes, he's 56. He's priced at 40 with a break even of 30.
So that's for his entire career, though.
No, that's this season, man. That's 2025. This year, when he's played over 50 minutes.
Okay, but let's look a second. One of the highest score he's got this season is 65 with 2 tries.
Yeah,
and then his second highest score is a 57 with a try. Like,
Well,
That's not
I actually got rid of
inspiring.
I filtered that game out because it was under 50 minutes. So I'm including a game with
Well,
like 238s and a 36 in this, and he still averages 46. I don't know,
He
man.
said 56.
I don't know, man. Like, it would sure fucking be the way that you go in and get to 38 in one of the buy rounds, and you just kind of like shit.
Oh well, then he gets you a 38. It's better than a fucking red dot. The upside's there. He is a jewel. He's cheap, and there's no chance White. So this is my thing, right? He is a White replacement.
Okay, so White comes back round 15.
Perhaps.
Perhaps that's the thinking.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at the team list. White comes back. Fodaki or Makatoa fall out. Imagine Egan Butcher stays on the edge whilst Crichton's holding it, so that's not going to affect Radley's minutes.
The way the buys work with the Roosters as well, though, is that like you probably only need to play Radley on the actual major buy rounds. Because the Roosters have the buy on the weeks
17.
before the major buy rounds. You really don't even need to play him in you can't play him in those weeks, but you don't need to play him in the minor buy rounds after the majors as well. Because
that's very fair.
So you're sort of like, there's always going to be risk associated with someone like Victor Radley, absolutely, but you're sort of minimizing it by only needing him in 3 rounds, really. And then you're going to trade him out after Origin anyway, hopefully more expensive than you bought him.
Yep. You're hoping for a decent price rise, 80, 90k, get you some good scores over the big buys when there's no Connor Watson. Watson may have reduced minutes when he comes back, right? You don't know what they're going to do. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to probably do that trade just because there's so much doubt around White coming back, and Zach Dr. Clay is just not an option. He is just a fucking red dot in your team that is just going to stink up your shit, man. Sorry, but he just is.
And Lindsay Collins just came back from an MCL injury and only played 37 minutes. So what if White comes back and only gets a 40-minute game where he scores like 30 points and
well, that's what he does.
You've held him all this time.
I don't think White is a hold. Saying that, I'm likely holding him this week.
Yes.
Solely because
I hate Liam Henry. I'm buying him though.
Yeah.
Well, no, so I've got to sell Kraz. I've got to sell Dylan Egan. Like, there's no point in me holding. Like, I don't have anyone else to target this week other than to force a trade. And really, there's a couple buys that in the next 2 weeks I'm really trying to focus on, which is Hamish Stewart next week, who I think is a great buy for the Origin period. Burton, who's likely going to be coming in instead of ICAP for my team now that we've had this conversation today. And I think Drinkwater is probably one of the best wing fullbacks to buy if you don't own him yet. After probably around 14, because he's got his BE pretty high. But he plays every game.
Up to 27.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 big targets before round 15. So,
yeah, mine's only Jaden Campbell. So I will be doing very minimal trading between now and round 15, and then when we get to 15, I'll be looking at guys like James Tedesco and Jacob Preston, assuming they're not playing for the Blues.
So are you going to try and you brought in Aiken already?
Yes, I got Aiken last week.
Have you got Stewart already?
No, but I'm not that high on him because he sort of does what Liam Henry does, but I like Liam Henry more.
Yep.
I can't have 2 of him.
That's fair.
Imagine if I could clone Liam Henry.
You'd be a happy man. And then Colo.
Yeah, Kalamatangi will be a strong consideration next week as well.
So now that I've looked at this again, I may just do White to Radley to fixes up my cover, and I don't have to worry about is he actually going to play or not, because while Radley doesn't get a HIA, then all good. And then might do Egan to Kalamatangi next week.
Mm-hmm.
As an upgrade. And still use my Haas money to do that, though. Like, still trade Haas out, bring in Stewart, bring in Aiken, and bring in Kalamatangi. Maybe my play, as long as I can make it work.
Yeah.
I think that's an efficient, and then that going out will be Ian, Haas, and KK. So 2 definite upgrades, and then a downgrade.
What's your rough plan look like, Ridley? Or are you just sort of buying Black Taff and calling it a day?
Don't tempt me with a good time. I've got a couple of sells in my team. I've got White and Hubner who need to go in the next 2 weeks. I'm not too sure what else other than that at this time. Like Savala's probably going to be getting close to the chopping board. I won't be too hard to convince me to sell Katoga soon to upgrade him to someone who's a bit better, say at centre or wing fullback.
So I think Katoga is definitely a sell by round 15.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, I don't think I'll keep him very long, but he's definitely getting close to being on my chopping block. But as long as he keeps scoring good, I can't really rush him out in any great urgency.
Yeah.
And then realistically, there's going to come a point, whether it be after the Origin period or sometime during, if I get a better option, like Preston coming back. One of these shit edges I have, be Wong or Pierce, is going to get moved because I don't like them as keepers.
Yeah, so Hosking to Preston might be a play that I look at.
I think that's going to be a pretty common play, given he's only meant to have the spot for I think 10 weeks. But Wong's getting really high on my shit list. So I think he'll likely stay in my team the entire time because he does so well for the bias.
Well, how many?
If another option comes up,
how many do you have? How many Roosters do you have?
I will have 4. No, I have 3. Sorry, so I'm not bringing in Zach Clay anymore.
Yeah, so that's.
No, I do have 4.
So once again, come round 14.
No, 3. Sorry, I have White still. I'm good at maths. I'm getting there. So once I sell White next week, I'll have 3. Victor Radley, Tedesco, and Wong.
Yeah, so you don't have Toya or Noah.
No, I sold Toya before he got that 100 because I'm really good at timing things. And I sold Nawa when he got injured that first time to get in for who did I bring in?
You're really banking on Sharp to cover your wing fullback spot, I see.
Yeah, my wing fullbacks are getting a bit dicey. It's something I definitely have to look at as we go through the season. I'm a little bit concerned. That's why Drinkwater is such an important target for me.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. I sold Nawa way back in round 5 when he picked up that leg injury, and I went from him to Couchman.
Yeah.
So definitely a good trade, I'd say, even though Nawa's done well since.
Yep. Okay. My plan right now is to hold Nawa and Toya till round 19 and then make decisions from there.
Yeah.
Unless Toya makes fucking Origin too. and then thank God we have 4 trades, right?
Yeah. Well, that's one point to make as well, is that even worst case scenario in the later buy rounds, you're going to have 4 trades. So if you still have trades by round 19, that is, you're going to be able to maybe cut someone loose that you don't want to come round 19 if a bunch of Origin players don't back up. But it's a bit of a contingency plan. And then we get 8 extra trades in round 20.
Which should only be used for injuries. And you're probably going to run out if that's the case.
Yeah.
How many trades you got coming into this week after you've done your business?
15 for me.
I got 15, rudely.
I'm down to 14.
Yeah. Fuck, it's going to be tight, man.
Yeah. So one thing to note, given I've been sort of looking around at guys around my rank, is that there's a lot of teams out there with less than 14 trades before making any trades this week. Like most of the top 10, apart from I think one guy, have less than 14 trades, which is like really tough. I think the average for the top 1,000 was 15.6 trades left. So the value of a trade is only going to go up and up the further we go into the season. So it's important that you're making trades that aren't just part-timers in your team, but actually serve a purpose and are going to be playable at some point. Because my view is that with 21-man squads, given how small the teams are, that you need to have basically 21 guys that are going to be able to score for you if you need them to.
Yeah. And with round 24 is also going to be tricky. 17, and it's a Raiders bye. The fact that we're going to have Tarpany Hosking, and you may get stuck. Tarpany and Horse, and you may get stuck with a Raider that you just can't move on because of trade situation. Get a couple injuries. 24 is going to be interesting, man.
What's 24?
That's a Raiders bye. So you're gonna have if you
out, Bryce.
if you got Fogarty, you got Tarpany, and you got Horse. That's 3 players you're missing round 24. You get a couple of injuries coming into that round. You're gonna need to definitely save some buys. Save some trades. It's a lot tougher than people think.
Yeah, no, it's very fair.
Now you're making me want to go back to Zach Docker Clay.
Just don't buy Morgan Smithies.
Yeah, just don't buy Morgan Smithies, man. Yeah.
I
think you've talked me around Morgan Smithies because I really don't have much faith in Sticky's minutes. But Zach Docker Clay, there's something about him, man.
Well, just do it, man. Do it, and then we can talk about it on Monday night, and you can tell me how depressed you are.
It saves me trades, though, in the long run. That's why I like it.
Is it the fact that he's 30 and played like 16 first grade games? Is that what's selling it to you?
No, it's mainly the sex appeal, actually.
Oh, right.
He is a little swinging between his legs as he's running after the ball.
Alright, and that is how we're going to end this podcast, I think. Any last words of wisdom from you, Jay-Z?
No, I think I've sort of said my piece about how I feel about the trades you make over this period. Just have a plan and have a backup plan in case that goes wrong.
Yep.
And yeah, just expect the worst, because if round 11 was any indication, this could be a real rough buy period.
Yep. Bridge?
Just one thing. Blake Taff, I'm not sure if you're listening, but B reached out to you on Instagram about coming onto the podcast. We still haven't heard a response. Please, I love you. Come back if you talk to us.
Jesus Christ.
Don't forget about Liam Henry.
Liam Henry, the GOAT. Safe after the GOAT. Mine is really learn your buy period, like your buy rounds, and be careful of round 19. It's going to fuck some people. Alright, thank you very much for listening to 90 minutes of shit, and we'll talk to you again soon. Peace.